Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to Replay City, where I show you tournament games and tournament times I play on, and I show you the games that we have fun in. So, as you may or may not know, originally I decided to play in a tournament live in Pichu Bros Posse's tournament, and as you see, on a new team, Bandito, why did you change your team? Why you did this? Here's the thing. The rule says you can change your team in between sets. Yeah, in between sets, not in between games. So basically, for game number 1 versus, say, game number 3, we have to have the same team. But after the game that we played, so after I played the game against Sam, I had to change up my team a little bit. So what I did was change my team a little bit and everything. I changed up, say, the last game I had was, of course, Petrum. I changed a little bit, but you never know. Scream Tail's, I think, yeah, Scream Tail's still there. I replaced Cinderace with Roaring Moon. Replaced Ogre with Manaphy. And I remember what last mon I got. I replaced that mon with Goldingo. No, it's Tinglu. Tinglu I replaced with Goldingo. I knew this was much needed changes that I had to do, so I had that at least. So I knew I had to change up those mons because Tinglu, I feel like, was very passive. Manaphy was a Manaphy, Swampert, and maybe Gudra. Definitely Meloetta over Gudra. But those 3 Pokemon is definitely way better as a regen mon than, say, Tinglu. I say any Pokemon that is, say, a good regen mon has a pivoting move. That's the best thing about it. But I changed it to that. And as you see, we played against Ice is Cold. As you may or may not know, that is my good buddy Sandan. Shouts out to him. He was so excited to come up to play the game against me. Of course, he was like, is this going to get recorded? I said yes. But unfortunately, this was not alive. At the time then, I think right after, after Sam said, it was like right after that, we played the following thing. Because the following rules, besides the no change your team rule and everything, that's, I think, in my opinion, is pretty stupid. I mean, it's good for casuals, but in an actual competitive setting, it's stupid. But besides that, what's it called? So right now on my record, I am 2-2. I lost to Delta and Sam, and I won against Salvador and Alex. So here's the thing. Yes, besides that, Deoxys and all that, this team is super scary. And knowing Sandan, I know he plays really defensively. But knowing him recently and telling me how he played more offensively because I taught him, he wants to show out and show how he plays. And as you see, we're here. We're going to start the game. And of course, good luck, have fun, G. Good luck, have fun. But yeah, so here's the thing. We have this going on real quick, of course. But yeah, you'll be like, what is going on? Why is this called Replay City? And the reason why it's called Replay City is the games that I thought were supposed to be live were completely screwed up by unforeseen circumstances like school, work. Not work, but like school is obviously the biggest one. And as you may know, as you see, we get the King Gambit. Yeah, I'm making up for lost time because at the time then, after Sandan stuff, I was literally fighting with work and schoolwork. So I hadn't that. But you see, of course, as you see in the first few turns, as you see from there, Deoxys on that. Knockoff gets rid of the focus, hits the focus sash. Stealth Rock on that. Zamazenta comes out on the knockoff, getting rid of its muscle band. Which was something I had to keep aware of because muscle band increases your attack by 1.1 times damage compared to the like, say, Life Orb, which loses your health for 1/3. Well, you lose your health for like 1.3 times damage, or Choice Band, which gives you 1.5 times damage. Basically a free Swords Dance where you choose one move. So as you see from there. And from there, we went to Petron, Intimidate, which is kind of a surprise. Rat Wars, which is their Zamazenta with Body Press, none happened. And it went to Millen Chain on the King Gambit, nothing happened. Parting Shot on the King Gambit, well, no. Yeah, it was not Prankster. So Parting Shot dropped it, went to Great Tusk. Kowtow Cleave does 13. and then they went to Deoxys. So the main reason why they did that was sacrificing the Deoxys, trying to get rid of the thing because they knew Petron's their main mon to knock out some of my mons. So did that, knock out the Deoxys. And now we're in the Garchomp switch in. I swap out because predicting a move in what's it called? Predicting Scale Shot was something very important because a Scale Shot and a Swords Dance is really scary. Scale Shot the Swords Dance, but it reversed the order, went to Swords Dance, I went to Scream Tail. But the big thing why I did that is I knew that in my mind that if doing Scale Shot and then Swords Dance after the fact, I was absolutely fried. And Scream Tail's natural speed stat 353 outruns Garchomp at max speed. So I did that, with lefties, the rocks, went to Boom Burst, which means that I am an offensive Scream Tail, which in most people's games is not surprising. But I know players that don't play AAA, well, AAA, not ADV, but AAA, almost any ability, don't know this type of stuff. And this is probably one of the first ones. So they don't really. I think they probably did that, but Scream Tail was a godsend for this team because it gets absolutely obliterated. Of course, I do get the toxic poison, unfortunately, but it means there's the most offensive tail ever. Because here's the thing, he doesn't play AAA. He plays mainly stall, OU, stuff like that. So he realizes that's the most offensive tail ever, not realizing this is a common set. So I went to that. They went knockoff, get the beautiful Cobra Berry. So I did that. They went recover. I went knockoff again. My problem is I did not rapid spin. That is completely on me. I went stealth rock because they had no spinner. Why did I not go for a spin? I do not know because I was kind of in that bind. I went for psychic noise, trying to sacrifice the Scream Tail, but I knew in my mind it did enough work to get it down, prevent it from recovering. So I went Goldingo, and the fortunate part about it is, of course, Goldingo has the Make It Rain. So I realized, wait, this is probably not Prankster because how would it had that? So I went to Petrunt real quick, and they brought out the Moth. So the idea about Iron Moth is this. Oh, my bad. The whole idea of Iron Moth is this. You either going to be a sweeper, a desolate landmon, or you're going to be something with Magic Guard. But as you see, they are heavy duty boots. They are Hadron Engine. And they went for agility. This is a big danger zone. But as you see, of course, we get a special attack raise. And, from the likes of Pokemon, what he always says, do not let Iron Moth get to +1. And what I did, bring Iron Moth to +1. And of course, I get absolutely obliterated in the next couple turns and I forfeit. Obviously, this was it'll help save time. So I knew in my mind, I cannot afford to lose again because if I lose again in this round, I may be potentially out of the running for play-ins, which play-ins are always top 8 in the little bracket thing or whatever. So yeah, I knew I had to literally lock in and play the next 2 games absolutely golden. So yeah, let's see what we can do. We'll be right back with our next game, and let's see if we can kick his ass. We're on to game 2, relatively the same team. Of course, it's the Pichu Bros Posse rules that I feel like are not very interesting. Of course, we always say good luck, have fun. I say good luck, have fun too, because, to notify this is game 2. Don't forget about that. And as you see, we absolutely obliterate the Zamazenta's health with 77%. And of course, crunched us 81 to Goldingo, knowing that we're kind of not bulky, but we have that. So we got the Arm Off down to 73. We went to Scream Tail, knowing it would probably go either Fire Dance or the move in Agility. Agility would have been the smarter move on their front. But I know that they were trying to attack the Goldingo, knock it out, and get the special attack, which I understand the move. They went Petrunt knowing they screwed up, but they get absolutely obliterated with 52%. Get the heal block. So do they go for Destiny Bond? They do not. So my best bet is they were not Destiny Bond. They were not going to be Prankster. They had something else more nefarious in this front. So they get knocked out the Petrunt. So I thought it was going to be Prankster. I was fearing for my life if it was Prankster in the game we played. So do that. They go Deoxys Speed. Do we get a knockoff or whatever? We swatted some Roaring Moon. Not surprisingly predicting the It's like the what's it called? The expanding force, which was kind of the idea. And U-turn brought it down to Sash. So I did that. It went Spike. So I knew this was a hazard stacker. And yes, it's of course expanding force is psychic terrain. So it's basically hazard stack plus psychic terrain. And as you see, we are heavy duty boots. I went to Scream Tail for a reason. I knew I cannot afford them to get a scale shot. Plus, if it gets scale shot down, and I get a boom burst off because boom burst in with Scream Tail with Pixilate does a crap ton of damage and knocks out Garchomp with one hit. So when Zamazenta fearing out the Scream Tail, obviously, because their team, rather than the Moth and Petrunt, the Moth, besides the Agility Moth and everything, is incredibly weak to the likes of Scream Tail. As you see, we can swap out to a Great Tusk in case they went Iron Head, they went Kowtow. Pretty smart from my front. We went Rapid Spin, knowing that we had that. I think we didn't have we even had a Fluffy or whatever. So in Body Press, knock out the King Gambit. I'm thinking we were Fluffy. I'm not too sure because it does about 19. Yeah, it was the other move. Yeah. So unfortunately, we did sacrifice the Scream Tail. We went to Roaring Moon, went for an absolutely easy outrage because I could have went knockoff, revealed items, but I mean, at this point, already showed knockoff, already showed U-turn. Outrage is there to knock out Garchomp guaranteed. And basically, there was no questions that Iron Moth would definitely get Swiss cheesed and get knocked out. But yeah, that's kind of how it is. A quick, easy 5-0 against Sandan for game number 2. And this all comes down to game number 3, which is very scary if you saw the game yourself. But if not, let's get into it real quick. Game number 3, we have this entire team going down. We have the access speed and everything. So we lead off again. I go Scream Tail, predicting to have some around that Petrunt. We go for Deoxys. Sought to Manaphy like I thought. Taunt, of course. Taunt's there for, say, Wish Protect or have Stealth Rock. We went U-turn on the free Manaphy. And then literally, I spooked him out with that. So I went for, I think it was a knockoff, right? No, it was U-turn. So I knock off. No. I went to U-turn and I went to Scream Tail, knowing that I could do some obliteratory type damage. So I went to Boom Burst. Did 27. I knew Psychic Noise would not make it recover, so I tried to force it to not recover. As you see, they go middle of the chain, try to be offensive. So I knew I had to watch my step, but unfortunately, they did not watch their step. And unfortunately, also, we did get the immunity down from that, but luckily, we had the best check in the absolute world for King Gambit. Of course, we rapid spin, getting that down, get rid of our hazards. And as you see, we revealed the Scrappy. Big surprise there. Boom. Get rid of that. Of course, the Ox is there. We kind of tested our luck. It was 450, kind of like that. But I realized it was 459, not really 504. It's not really below that, except for 550. 459, my bad. As you see, we U-turn on the Roaring Moon, on the Zama, knowing that we have to beat out this Mon. So they go King Gambit, knowing that we parting shot, boom. And we know the more we try to get rid of that, because we lost our best check to King Gambit, we lose to King Gambit either way. And of course, expanding force is there. We U-turn out, and boom, we get almost all of our health back, about 96% plus that stuff, and we have that right there. So parting shot on the adaptability King Gambit. They go Manaphy. Let's see. You get Swords Dance up, which is pretty scary on that front. We Skull, try to predict a burn, and there's a Kowtow to almost knock me out. I wouldn't be surprised. All right, Petron in case the Sucker Punch. Let's see. And yep, Sucker Punch is definitely there. Parting shot again. Gets him down. Let's go Bingo. Swords Dance up for fear. And I went to Roaring Moon in case they went Sucker Punch again. Let's see. The Swords Dance up. Pretty scary front. I went to Earthquake. Trying to predict some. The low kick, unfortunately, knocking out Roaring Moon. So my best check of some of these mons is really out of the question. I went Shadow Ball, knowing that they would probably go for a Swords Dance to be greedy. Had that through. Went Earthquake on the Garchomp, knowing that, having that, and we had to get rid of the attack. So we had that amazing. And after this point, we win the game because, of course, I made an absolutely amazing read on that front. As you see, after Garchomp did that, I went for parting shot. I went Scream Tail. So the idea that, the whole thing is, in case they were lefties, I would go for that. And It was a mid ground. Of course, it hits Garchomp effectively, getting rid of his healing if it has lefties. Zamazenta gets hit absolutely hard. Don't get no lefties either. And of course, Moth is the only reason why you get Moth is so you have Scream Tail. This is a perfect mid ground I played out. Got the Moth down, which was a shock to Sandan because that's the only real mon that's kind of the same. Well, that's the only real mon that can really break the rest of the team. He sacrifices it for some reason, not going to Garchomp, and then he goes to Zamazenta, doing that. I went protect in case they were heavy slam. We're not heavy slam. I think they were in the next turn. No, they're not. They're Stone Edge. So they were not heavy slam, so I was lucky on that. And Scream Tail finished off the rest of the team. And look at that. Scream Tail doing perfect work on the first and the third game. Yeah, that's gonna be my Scream Tail game, my Scream Tail series. I never got to showcase this mod, but I always showed up. I always show it out, and it always does great for me. But yeah, I'll see you on the next one. We'll see y'all for the final round of the Pichu Bros Posse tournament setting, and we'll be going to that. If we win this game, most likely we'll get top cut. If not, we'll have a EVGV type of close situation. Let's see what we're gonna find out there, and see y'all then.